Sea Hunt was a very popular TV show when I was young. And it was one of the kind of exciting things that you could do. It was kind of an edgy sport, much like base jumping is now. Undersea diving was a really extreme thing to do. So it was really interesting. For the first time I went diving, I was on vacation in Mexico, and there was someone on the beach who was offering scuba diving, to try scuba diving in the ocean. And so it was an opportunity that just kind of came up. And so then we did it. It was lots of fun and interesting. Saw a lot of fish. The first time I went diving, I was 15. And so that was about 49, 50 years ago. It was pretty shallow dive. It was maybe 10 feet at the most. But there was a lot of coral and a lot of very colorful fish. It was really new. It was a different kind of experience because there was a lot of equipment. I'd been in the water before to go snorkeling, but I'd never used gear, any kind of things to breathe underwater, just the snorkel. So it was a lot different to have to carry all this gear with you. There were some times that conditions, as I've been diving over the decades, there have been times when conditions got a little bit more extreme, mostly with currents causing gear to start to move around or come off or things. It's not so much a panic as it draws on all your skills that you learn in diving so that you can recover from the situation. Not so much panic. Panic's a very dangerous thing if you're scuba diving. So, I've seen a lot of people panic scuba diving. Because I'm an instructor, I see a lot of people who are very new. Maybe they haven't been in the lakes or the ocean or some non-pool setting before, and quite often the experience is just fine with people. Most of the time everybody just goes, oh, well, this is what I expected it to be. But there are the occasional times when people are kind of overwhelmed by the experience and don't want to be there, and so they try to get out quickly, in whatever means that they can figure out. In those situations, we try to help people get out of the situation in a way that's safe, and maybe they don't go scuba diving anymore, and that's okay. The most memorable dives that I've done, I have really been almost any dive where I'm seeing something that's new, maybe unexpected, but maybe not, but mostly new things. It could be like a new shipwreck that I'm going down to explore, and those are pretty memorable when you think about all the history that's involved in creating the shipwreck. But other dives that have been memorable usually have been around seeing really interesting animals, whether it's like a whale shark or other kinds of sharks, or maybe it's a special kind of seahorse or crab or shrimp. And then usually there's the element of sharing that experience with somebody else. There's a lot of things that go into my interest in scuba diving. Part of it has to do with my own diving as just a diver, and part of it has to do with the reason I became an instructor. Scuba diving I find to be very engaging, but at the same time relaxing. So it can be exciting, but still calming. It's interesting. You've seen neat things. You're in situations that you might find in the air to be very maybe scary, but underwater they're not, because you have control because of the water. As an instructor, I got into being an instructor for reasons that had to do with wanting other people to understand what the oceans and the underwater world were like, so that they would appreciate them more for the natural environmental systems that they are. There's a few places. In Indonesia, we were diving on an undersea mount, which is like a hill or a mountain underwater. It doesn't quite come to the surface. And it attracts a lot of large animals. So this undersea mount had a reputation, a history of being a place where manta rays would come. And so we were on it, and we had 5 manta rays, which are pretty big. They're about 20 feet across, and about 18 feet long. 5 manta rays swimming around us, and each of the manta rays would, as they would swim around, you could see they would swim off maybe 20, 30 yards, and then they would look and they would pick out a diver. We were spread out. Each one would pick out a different diver, and they would turn and swim in to the very diver that they wanted to, and then they would just come and stop right over the top of the diver. Motor City Scuba. I'm an instructor and an owner of the store. I also help, in addition to training new divers, I train new instructors. I got started as an instructor when my son was in high school and going on a dive trip, and he came home with stories of the other students that had just learned to dive, running out of air and being in dangerous situations in the water, and I thought, I could probably teach them better than they're getting taught right now. So I decided to become an instructor, and after I became an instructor, I started working with Mike in his store, and I also then started taking an active role in the business of the store. I met Mike in a dark alley on a stormy night. I met Mike after I became an instructor. He also had some instructors that he was training, and I was in the same class as his instructors. So shortly after that, and I started working with him. You know what they say about if you want to make $1 million in a dive store? Start with 2 million. All kinds of struggles with owning any kind of business, and especially if you own it with somebody else, then you have to kind of figure out a way to agree on how your business is going to be run. We met in a dark alley on a stormy night, yep. And that of course there are challenges in synchronizing your business philosophy, but that we have always just been like in lockstep. Yep.
It was something I always wanted to do, so when I was a kid I got lessons. And, well, I mean, all partnerships have challenges, but at the end of the day, you're partners because you make the job easier by 2 people doing it. So.
True.
Yeah, okay.
Leah has the best questions, doesn't she, Michelle? Big Mouth Billy Bass, take 2.
Here's a little song I wrote. Might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry.
Oh gosh.
Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy now. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy.
That's it. Big Mouth Billy. That's all he has to say today. Thank you.